Hey, and happy new moon to you. I want to talk about the new moon, but also Mercury retrograde and Uranus and Gemini briefly with you here. These three things are really on my mind, and don't forget and always remember, whatever we find at the moment of a new moon is not just significant in regards to that specific day or those couple of days, the things that we experience externally and internally in our life, but it's also the energetic seeding point of the coming cycle. Meaning that if we find a very strong activation of a certain planet or archetype during the new moon, we can expect that on some deeper layer in the background of the coming moon cycle, we'll get to experience this archetype quite a bit. And then you can zoom out even more if you want to and have a view to the opposite new and full moon, so the one coming in 6 months. We just had the new moon in Leo 1.5 days ago, Thursday to Friday night. It was really big because Mercury also just went retrograde a couple of days, a week ago, in the sign of Leo. And also the new moon in Leo was exactly opposite Pluto. 2 degrees of Leo, the sun and the moon, 2 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto. So having a strong Pluto signification in a chart always tells us, okay, things are meant to be intense, but also transformative. There's a pressure, there's maybe also a darkness that comes to light that forces us to change, that forces us to evolve, but often in ways that we as human beings tend to resist. There's often a fair bit of resistance because Pluto also on a psychological level relates to the things that we tend to suppress into our shadow, into our subconscious. Having a new moon in Leo, the sign of the light, of the luminous self, the golden spark of divinity within every single one of us, exactly opposite Pluto, shows that, okay, here's an intensity and transformation, Pluto, in regards to our sense of self-identity, Leo, in regards to a coming to light, Leo, of things that were suppressed, or maybe also Pluto in Aquarius dissociated from our greater sense of identity of self. The means by which Pluto operates often are that it confronts us with things that we cannot change, where and how we feel helpless and overpowered. But that the intensity of these feelings, which we can't deny and also can't bypass, forces us to come to terms with certain things of reality that are, you could say, fated or that are just outside of our control. Pluto and Aquarius control a lot of things that we perceive outside in the greater world and the greater collective and the societal, political sphere of human reality that are in many ways outside of our immediate control, but that maybe make us feel powerless or helpless or confront us with the shadow of the world. Ample examples of that abound right now, tragically so. Still, the intention is to transform our sense of self-identity, in that way also our sense of where and how do we relate to power. Where do the things that make us feel powerless in the external actually force us to empower ourselves in a new way? Where and how is this cycle that is just beginning playing out for you, maybe already right now over the last couple of days, bringing up a lot of feelings of where and how can my creative self-identity, my creativity, Leo, everything that touches and comes from my heart, who I am and believe myself to be, who do I want to be, how do I want to be a co-creator with reality, how does that have to change, also step up in order to confront that which makes us feel disempowered so that a greater sense of empowerment can blossom forth from here. Where and how do I have to confront shadows or things that were so far out of sight and we believed out of mind, but suddenly coming to the surface? How are they actually these agents of change that ask us to step up and step into greater embodiment, and also, Leo, into the fire of our heart? Having the courage to trust and live from our heart, that's the lesson here. It always is with the Leo new moon. But it promises a very intense and profound moon cycle, which does tap into Mercury being retrograde in Leo. So that also shows, hey, there's a deeper mental reconfiguration and a resetting and a restructuring of the stories we tell ourselves in regards to our sense of self-identity, in regards to our creative endeavors, in regards to our sense of self-love and self-worth, and the worthiness and the confidence to live from that heart-centered space that trusts in the inner knowing of who we are and who we're meant to be, and has the courage to really grow into that, instead of dissociating or stepping away or blaming the outside world and reality for all the ways that we ourselves are not really stepping into that truly self-empowered heart space. A deeper thing here is, of course, that we had so much energy moving forward in very strong and radical ways over the last couple of weeks and months, with all the outer planets shifting into new signs. But now also, roughly 10 days ago, just before Mercury, Saturn went retrograde, showing us, wow, a lot of things that we thought are moving forward, we actually got to take 3 steps forward, but maybe 2 steps back, in order to truly anchor and truly find the clarity on the boundaries that we need to have, the structure, Saturn, of where and how we are bound to time and space, and how we have to work with that, and maybe have to find a deeper clarity, a deeper safety and stability within, before these new structures that we maybe thought we can push ahead and jump into now over the last couple of weeks and months, actually have to find a deeper holding, a deeper ground, which will be a big lesson over the coming 6-8 months for all of us collectively, because there is this huge forward push, but it will result in a very big backwards motion when all the planets, Saturn, Neptune and Uranus, are retrograde and moving back into their previous signs, into Pisces and Taurus. And that's the Uranus side of things. Uranus is in Gemini since 3 weeks, which is of course ruled by Mercury, and also shows us, hey, there is a new impulse for liberation of how we use our mind, thinking truly original thoughts. That means standing outside and apart from normative consciousness, where thoughts are never really true or real or original, but just repetitions of what everybody is saying, all the information, all the news, all the gossip of the neighbors, of the friends. There's often this endless repetition. With Uranus and Gemini now, it is about a true new recalibration of our nervous system, so that we can become antennas for a higher type of thought, for true original thought, which often means we have to step outside of what was known before. But which can also show, hey, we are in a moment where there is a lot of movement, a lot of forward movement, but also a lot of uncertainty and not a sense of true clarity yet. We're opening up all of these new vistas and experiences and the floodgates of the new star signs, of the new zodiac signs in many ways, streaming in right now. But Mercury retrograde and also this very deep new moon show and promise us that over the next 2 weeks, for the remainder of Mercury retrograde also, and also for the Aquarius full moon, that there will actually not be so much the focus should not be maybe so much. I want to use the word should carefully here, but still, that maybe the intention would be good to take energy back and look within. Because also in the face of all of these global and collective changes and intensity, finding the center in our heart and knowing who we are, apart and outside of all of these changing things, is a deep medicine. This is a deeper, more mystical side of Leo and the sun as the infinite luminous light of self, illuminating creation and creativity, and channeling our sense of self-identity through that portal, so that it is the most personal thing in life, and at the same time absolutely impersonal, but where we connect to something that is beyond time and space, that is unmoved and untouched by all the outer changes and drama that we experience in life. That's the heart, that's the soul, or the gateway to soul and spirit, that Leo and the sun rule and govern and show us also here. So also the Mercury retrograde in Leo, it's not so much maybe about needing to push forward, but first finding the clarity in the inner access to spirit within, and then trusting that we are really centered in that place and really acting from that place, so that all the shifting tides, all the shifting drama around us, all the intensity, all the tragical and horrible things that are happening in the world don't shake us so much, because we're not finding our identity through any of these impermanent things, but finding our true sense of center in the impermanent, never-changing, true access of the heart, of the self, of the spirit. And in that way also can walk with this trust and the self-confidence and the self-love, so that all the intensity of transformation will not take us by surprise, but will just reveal to us that who we are becoming is who we have always meant to be, and who in truth we have always have been. And the new moon Pluto, new moon opposite Pluto in Leo, just showing us we're in a moon cycle where it is about stripping away so many old masks and identities that are not true, that are not real, that are not authentic, that have maybe been based on when, how we try to get applause or attention or admiration, masking our true self. It's also a Leo side, it's a Leo process, because there's the fear of, oh, if I really live from the heart, I might get rejected, I might get hurt, I have to be vulnerable if I'm walking with an open chest. I'm showing myself, right? But to still face the fear and realizing that courage can only operate in the face of fear. Otherwise, courage would be meaningless. There is no courage if we don't face fear. Being courageous doesn't mean there is an absence of fear. It means there is a fear and acting in the face of it. So that's a few things and words right now. As the moon cycle goes along, the sun comes together with Mercury Thursday to Friday, so pretty much in exactly a week. It's a midpoint of the Mercury retrograde, and it's also the first quarter moon in Scorpio, so that will probably already see quite a lot of clarity coming back into our hearts and minds on who it is we're meant to be and how we can progress from our point in time forward. But the full moon in exactly 2 weeks, Saturday in exactly 2 weeks, also promises quite a lot of intensity. Venus and Mars and Saturn and Neptune are all involved in really dramatic ways. It won't be easy, none of it will be, but keeping just this thing in the back of our mind that it's not about the mind, it's about how can we stand in the heart? How can we be connected to that point and that part? And then trust that all the transformation and change that's going on around us is actually serving us to step ever more fully into that part of ourselves and who we have always been. So just a few quick words from me. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye.